Alrighty, we're doing another Age of the Ring cast, and very surprisingly and also happily, it's not on River Horizon. But that's primarily because I chose the cast myself, meaning that I played the game myself, and I'm not choosing a random, you know, replay from the replay depot on the Age of the Ring main server. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So on the left-hand side of Westfold, we've got the player Rallitir, who is my clanmate actually, and is playing for Guldur. DG, let's just call it DG because saying Guldur every time kind of breaks my tongue, and I don't want that to happen. So he's going for three resource structures, particularly slave mills and a Guldur jail. I only recently learned that this is pronounced as jail because when I was, when I had first downloaded the game, I mean this specific mod, I was pronouncing it like Gaul or something, but it's actually jail. And after the first jail, he also recruited a tethered shade and is putting down his second jail because if you're completely new to Age of the Ring, this faction has a very unique mechanic in that the builder essentially disappears after building anything. So you kind of need to spam builders all the time. Righty, so on the right hand side of the map we've got myself, and I'm playing for Misty Mountains. And I've gone for, I'm pretty sure I went for 2 resource structures and 2 caves. I also put down a forward tunnel over this side of the map, and this is where I'm planning to start harassing him. So a pretty aggressive start, generally speaking. Just starting the spam production of Moria Orcs creatures. I've got 1 in the tunnel already, and 2 more are on the way. And while I'm doing that, I'm sending a second builder to the bottom side of the map so that I can, put down a tunnel over here as well, and start attacking him from 2 sides. Very effective, strategy as a goblin player if, if your opponent does not go for cavalry. So I direct my orcs creatures over here, and I get met with his stack of infantry, and so I don't commit to this slave mill because I would have lost too many of these guys. So I just, scout his base instead, run around this side, and put down my frozen waste, which is basically a buff for myself and a speed debuff for the enemy. So after scouting his base, I notice a slave mill that isn't protected by any building, and also is not protected by any infantry. So I put down my frozen waste over here and take down his slave mill. And while I'm doing that, I also sent this builder over the top, topmost, westernmost side of the map, so to speak, and built a pretty sneaky tunnel over this side. But I'm pretty sure Rallitir kind of acknowledged that this is here, and yeah, he's gonna get that deleted fairly soon. But this one is still here, and I also have this one from the bottom side, and the first group of Moria Orcs creatures is gonna attack his base shortly from the bottom side. Meanwhile, on my base, I haven't put down the third Moria Orc cave yet, which I feel like is a bit of a mistake. At this point, you would like to have your third production building so that you can, speed up the production of Moria Orcs creatures, because they get out of the cave quite slowly. That's probably done for balance reasons. I'm assuming. This is a completely wild guess. I'm not sure if it's accurate, but I'm assuming the Moria Orcs creature rush used to be a bit too effective, and so the developers probably tried to nerf it by kind of decreasing the timer. To be more clear, by saying decreasing the timer, I mean that these Moria Orcs creatures take more time actually to get out of the production building, and thus, they're harder to spam. So that is why you would need, like, at least I would say 4 of these buildings to really, spam quite effectively. And I'm putting down the third one over here. So that's, you know, I'm getting there. I was slowly, you know, slower than ideal, slower than I would like, but I'm getting there anyway. So I still have this forward tunnel on the top side and also this one on the bottom side. But there's not much, not many slave mills on his side of the map left. He's on 475 CP. Is that the upgraded? Yeah, it's the upgraded Guldur Rallitir, which I suppose is quite effective on spammy units such as, you know, Goblin Orcs or Mordor, you know, Orcs, because they have such low health, especially if they're on aggressive stance, they lose even more armor. So as you can see, yeah, that was quite effective in fending off with this attack. Righty, so Rallitir is still on 2 Guldur jails, but he's also gone for the spider layer at this point, which I feel like is a correct decision. You know, his CP locked at the moment, cannot get his first battalion of Fell Brood out from his production building, but they're gonna hit the map fairly soon. And Rallitir is just Rallitir rather is just you know, hanging in his base right now because he's expecting further harassment from me. But at this point, I feel like you know, I kind of thought that that's kind of enough, because the last group of Warrior Orcs Reachers I sent didn't really find anything to harass anymore. So yeah, so Rallitir has his fount of corruption over here. That's quite a good choice, if you like, because if I'm not mistaken, I don't know much about Dol Guldur as a faction, you know, in terms of its features. I don't know them deeply. I know some stuff, but not very deeply, so don't expect to learn anything, you know, like any new features or strategies from this cast. But yeah, so Rallitir is slowly, you know, pushing out of his base right now. He's got 2 battalions over here. He's trying to take down this tunnel, which he might be successful with or not yet. But he should be successful here, although I do throw down my frozen waste over this side, so I'm not sure. But if he gets a good clump over here, then he will be successful. So I crept the goblin layer or whatever it is over this side, and I was trying to also creep this, but you know, my units kind of were busy fending off his attack over that side. And yeah, I feel like at this point, well, generally speaking, my economy is quite well set up, and I add 2 more production buildings at this point. One is Mountain Orc Lodge. The second is a Wolf Cairn, and I'm not sure if you've noticed, but I've also got a hero on the map already. So at this point, I had upgraded the fortress. You know, the upgrade for Misty Mountains, which decreases the cost of heroes. Costs, you know, the upgrade itself costs 800. But which is a bit more expensive than other similar upgrades, but it gives you access to an ability which you can use on neutral, you know, layers on the map, which then I don't remember if this is correct or not, but I'm pretty sure it gives you money if you capture it, some amount of money. You know, it kind of starts function almost like a farm, but I'm not exactly sure about that, so don't quote me on it. Okay, so my first hero on the field is Musgash, which is a must-have hero for, I would say, basically any matchup that Misty Mountain plays, because of his leadership, his useful abilities. You know, this deals splash damage, specifically poison damage, and this is kind of like a spell buff for your army, so that's very useful. Rallitir does manage to you know, take down the forward tunnel over this side of the map, but I've got my first work pack on the map, and I'm continuing to harass. Not a good idea to be going for the you know, Spire of Sorcery. I'm pretty sure is how it's called. Yeah, Spire of Sorcery, because it's quite damn tanky. It's got, yeah, 4,500 HP on level 2, which is, you know, that's similar to, you know, what regular farms have on level 2, but I'm pretty damn sure that this thing has more armor, because it certainly does feel very tanky. So yeah, you'd rather not take this down with your regular infantry, unless it's like very capable infantry in terms of armor and damage, and these guys certainly aren't. So, you know, just continuing to harass his economy would be a better idea. He is kind of pushing back, although I would say at this point, not entirely, but his situation is definitely better. And so, yeah, another feature of the Spire of Sorcery is that it has an aura, you know, an aura rather, around which your units, if they die, they become wraiths, and you know, they are timed, of course. You don't get those units permanently, but still, you can basically use your opponent's units against himself in the form of wraiths. Okay, so just to recap what we have so far in terms of command points, 825 for myself and 300 active army. I started spamming a bit less, you know, at this point, which I don't like. I should have spammed a lot more. I have, you know, I've purchased a few battalions here, but that's not enough. Ideally, I would spam quicker, you know. And I'm pretty sure I went for the second hero because I purchased something with the money I had. And yeah, I'm trying to tech up little by little, you know. I went for Musgash, just now went for the second hero, and trying to go with you know, higher tech units, particularly Mountain Orc, you know, Mountain Orc Lodge units. Yeah, and also these work packs, they're quite effective if they're trampling some spammier units, but these guys, the Rise Undead, are, well, I wouldn't say they're incredibly tanky, but they have incredible damage. So when these guys try to trample them, and they kind of hit them while being trampled, since these guys, you know, the work packs are quite cheap. I think they cost 375. That's you know, they receive a lot of damage, so that's not very effective. Okay, so so yeah, I had Frozen Waste, and I also went for Ruin of Angmar. I'll tell you why in a brief moment, but we can see that on the other hand, Rallitir also has his tier 2 ability, the Spawn of Kerkoroth, and which spawns these two very hard-hitting battalions of wargs, black wargs specifically. And we see that I lost my hero over there because he did not have any protection. Musgash went down, but I went for my third hero meanwhile, who is, you know, which is Lug. And I went for Lug because I felt like, you know, Rallitir's economy was starting to expand a bit, so he was getting a lot more resources than he used to in the beginning of the match. So I was expecting some kind of hero, you know, either Sinethra or the Necromancer, maybe Hamel, something like that. So I went for Lug to kind of level him up so that I could have an eventual counter to it. Okay, so multi-pronged gameplay, as I like to call it at the moment. I'm harassing from the top side and he's defending, and he's harassing from the bottom side, although these white wolves are on the map. And oh lord, these are such good units. I didn't really know that they're so good, but I learned about them in this specific match that we played. I mean, I knew that they were good, but I didn't know that they were that good. So yeah, over this side, Rallitir is very successful in repelling my attack, and on the other hand, his own attack managed to destroy one of my farms. In terms of command points, he's got 700 and 450 active army on the map. And since he's got a Spire of Sorcery, he can, you know, that's exactly what he's doing right now. He can kind of mix the Rise Undead with pikemen and send harass groups essentially. Because if he sends only, you know, generally speaking, if you turn this transformed the pikeman into Rise Undead entirely, that would have obviously been a lot more effective in terms of stats. But since he has noticed that I've got these white wolves on the map already, then obviously it would be a bit idiotic to. Rather, you know, maybe not idiotic, but it would not be a smart idea to send the Rise Undead without any pike protection. Righty, so once again, kind of gameplay on a few sides at the same time. Right now, Rallitir is attacking on the top side. I'm attacking from the bottom side. You know, I've got Urshak on the field. He's level 1. for now. But yeah, Rallitir is continuing to spam from his JLs, and yeah, he's also upgraded his Spire of Sorcery to level 2, which means that we're going to see Harbingers of Shadow, right? Not death, but Shadow. Yeah, Shadow, fairly soon. Okay, so on the other hand, I've gone for my Troll there, and after the game, actually, I thought, thought back to the game, realized that Guldur actually doesn't have any, decent ranged units, so I could have abused that fact by going bats. But spoiler alert, I did not do that. So I'm just going for trolls over here. So Rallitir is, controlling all over the map really successfully right now, attacking from 3 sides at the same time. Has battalions over here, and is also very good at controlling it, noticing that the pikes were kind of low health and turning them to Rise and Head. Although that's a bit of a mistake because the Golfimble hits the field, and with his leadership, I'm pretty sure his leadership affects White Wolves too. Those Rise and Dead are gonna be cleared up from the top side, but he does manage to take down one of my leveled up farms over here, and over this side I tried to defend. Meanwhile, I tried to attack also on the top side, and I think, I'm not sure, I wasn't paying attention. I might have gotten a slave mill over this side, but yeah, not a super successful attack at this point. But yeah, Golfimble and the White Wolves, yeah, they're kind of colored. They have those yellow rings underneath, so I think the leadership does affect them. Wargs and cavalry, yeah, so I suppose so. So yeah, a bit of a reset on the map. I feel like, if I remember well, this is the point where I tech up once again. Well, I have my second rune of Angmar, which is very handy in terms of White Wolf production speed. But yeah, there's an engagement in the middle. I do have a troll with a stick or with a tree. I have a few battalions of kind of spammy units, screechers, and Rallitir has a battalion of harbingers, and these guys are incredibly good. Like, their damage output and also their tanky. They hit like a freaking, I don't know, like a train, and they're quite tanky as well. They got trampled here once. They do seem to die. Well, I mean, it depends. You can't really say how many tramples it takes to kill them, because it entirely depends on the angle of the trample. Because obviously, if you trample them from the side or from the backside, they're gonna receive a lot more damage. So Urshak is, Jesus, yeah, Urshak is level 5. I don't like, using abilities on autocast, but I suppose with these type of abilities like the Urshak Cave-In, might make sense, because you can't be perfect in your control, so better not waste the ability, generally speaking. So yeah, so the troll is also problematic for DG because of the same reason, because no access to elite archers, ranged archers that have relatively long range, and the pikemen aren't, the pikeman base damage isn't that high either. Right, so I feel like I went a bit overboard with the White Wolves over here. I feel like the ideal kind of composition would be just, Lug is about to go down over here. Yeah, the Rise and Dead, man, they hit you so hard, and the spawn of Karkaroth again. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Lug is going to go down here, and in theory, Urshak must go down too. Meanwhile, I'm attacking from the top side. Or nah, I'm lucky here. I managed to get Urshak out of that fight by getting him into the town. So I have a troll here and a couple of battalions harassing on this side. Rallitir is harassing me from the bottom side, and the White Wolves are harassing him from the bottom side as well. So yeah, just a really nice game in terms of just action all over the map. That's what we like to see. And bit of miscontrol here. I do feed him almost like 2 battalions. Felt like 2 battalions. And he uses the Harbingers first ability over here, which is, you know, yeah, very effective generally speaking, and he might be able to take this down as well, which is level 1, but still this one is the more leveled up one. Yeah, so I do take down the mill over here once again, but Rallitir's attack is much more successful. Although he doesn't take this down completely, I'm not sure how this is called, the fundament of the building basically remains. And he also doesn't destroy the Mountain Orc Lodge. And more importantly, he doesn't destroy my level 3. So yeah, I feel like I got away there. So he's continuing his harassment attempts from two sides at the moment, from center and from the bottom side. And these white wolves, I'm also, you know, splitting the cavalry, harassing this farm with just 1 battalion, and also this one over here with Gulfimbal's support. And as you can notice, we didn't forget about the signal fires. Actually, this was like an agreement. We don't play. We usually, on maps that have signal fires, we agree not to play with them, because obviously signal fires are broken in the current version of Age of the Ring, which is not a big deal, as they will be fixed in 8.0. And it seems that 8.0's release, you know, isn't far away. So yeah, we should be getting it fairly soon. Hopefully. Obviously, I don't know the release date. I'm just being hopeful about it. Okay, so at this point, yeah, I'm pretty sure I built the second troll layer, and I have 3 trolls on the map. The white wolves, you know, split into 2 kind of harassment groups. And yeah, I'm actually not sure what happened here, but Rallitir is down to 120 CP. I guess he kind of stopped spamming. Though he is spamming right now. I wasn't being super attentive. Ooh, but at this point I already have the Balrog summon. And Rallitir had level you know, tier 3, which is Wither, plus 12 points. But at the same time, I had my tier 4 plus 3 points, and I actually wasn't attentive. Like, I didn't realize that he used Wither here, so I was expecting him to use Weather ability. So, and that's why I didn't use mine. But at this point, I'm like, okay, he isn't using anything, so I'm just gonna use it. Fuck it, kind of, you know, because obviously if you go for a Weather ability, you kind of want to see the opponent use some kind of tier 3 first, so that you can be sure that he won't counter your own Weather ability and then only use it. So that was a big mistake for me from my side as well. I should have been more attentive that he used his tier 3 and used my Weather ability sooner. But yeah, Balrog is basically gonna clean up his remaining production buildings, and seems like this is gonna be the end of the game. Yeah, so 3 you know, 3 spam your buildings, 2 Mountain Orc Lodge, 2 Troll Layers, and 1 Wolf Cairn. I feel like that was a decent you know, I feel like at all times of the game, or at most times of the game, I had a pretty decent army composition on the map, very varied. You know, it wasn't just 1 or 2 units, but it was composed of multiple units, you know, 4 or 5 different units, which helps tremendously, generally speaking, because, you know, if you kind of take a step back from the game and think about it more theoretically, is, you know, BFME is just basically an kind of like a rock paper scissors thing, right? Everything has its own counter, and if you have an army composition that is varied, you know, that has multiple things in it, then there's a high chance that you're going to be able to counter basically everything or most things that the opponent throws at you. So yeah, that was a decent game, generally speaking. Guldur, I'm starting to understand the faction a bit better recently. Yeah, generally speaking, the game was alright, and in terms of Misty Mountains gameplay. That's what I've started to go. I used to pick other tier 2s, but recently I've come to like the Ruin of Angmar summon quite a lot, due to just how strong the White Wolves are. Generally speaking, I feel like all of the, or most of the, at least most of the PowerPoint abilities that are available in various factions that give you access to some units tend to be quite effective. For example, for Guldur you summon, you gain access to the Amroth Swarm Knights, or for Lorien, the Amroth Knights, Amroth something Knights, but I don't remember their exact name. Basically, yeah, all of these, or most of these abilities that give you access to certain type of units tend to be quite effective. Like the units that you gain access to tend to be quite overpowered. Or rather, correctly powered. Greatly powered is what I mean. But I guess I'm gonna stop rambling there and end the cast, because it's like 6 a.m. in the morning, and I noticed that I'm starting to ramble. Right, so that's it for this one. Yeah, see you guys on the next one.